So what we've done so far, a little recap here. I made the bottom. Notice how everything is black. Okay. I use a combination of equal constraints and horizontal constraints, as in horizontally aligned with the origin. Okay. To make this very simple and easy. Notice that I only have, 4 dimensions. All right. I also did not round anything in that. I just extruded, that square shaped stuff. And then I made this thing on top of it. Okay, I used a project. And then I made a plane that's kind of up here where the top of that would be. And I was able to draw then on that plane. And you'll notice that it's kind of similar to what's underneath. The main difference here, if I line this up, is this is narrower or smaller, this rectangle, than what's underneath it. Okay, that's fatter. And why did I do that? Well, instead of extruding, I did a series of lofts. So this loft here, I could have done extrusion, whatever. This loft on the right side could have done an extrusion as well, whatever. But this middle part, take a look at that. That I would not have been able to do with an extrusion, at least not very easily. And then I decided to do all the fillets. And I kind of showed this, that if I had done the fillets before, what was the issue was things were breaking whenever I tried to dimension or apply constraints. Those rounded corners would break dimensions and constraints, and I had to go fix that. It was annoying. So by doing the fillets at the end, I didn't have to worry about any of that. And then I just put my holes at the top. Okay? What we're going to do now is we are going to make a sketch on, if you've oriented the way I have, you're going to make a sketch on the right plane. Okay? Which cuts the shape in half. But before you do that, trust me on this, this is going to make it a lot easier. If you right-click on the right plane, so again, I have it oriented like this. If I have the front top right, which is a standard view, okay, the right plane cuts it in half that way. All right? I want you to right-click on the right plane. And I want you to choose, you can choose section view. Section view. So I'm going to do that again. I have the right plane visible. I don't need the top or front plane visible. I can hide those. I got the right plane visible. I'm going to right click on it and choose section view. What did that seem to do there? What did that seem to do?
Cut it in half.
Yeah, it seemed to cut it in half. Okay? And you'll actually notice, it says section view here. Okay, you can actually name this. I'll click the green check mark. All right. The reason why I'm doing this is I want to sketch on this plane, and I want to sketch in this area right here. The problem is I'd have to be looking through the other half of the shape if I didn't do this section view. Sound good? Yes, yeah, makes sense? Yeah? Yeah? Okay, so again, what I did is I right-clicked on the right plane, and I chose section view. Okay? I can't show it anymore. Now it just says edit section view, because I already have a section view there. Okay? And then I'm going to create a sketch on that plane. Sound good? Yes, yeah? If it helps you, you can rotate it to be like this, if that helps you. But what I'm going to do is if you can imagine cutting this in half, I'm going to draw all here-ish, okay, where my mouse is moving up and down. I'm going to draw kind of like the profile for this tab, and then I'm going to extrude it forward and backwards, so I'm extruding it both ways, okay? And if you're kind of confused, just do what I tell you, and then at the end you'll see how this worked out, okay, trust. So we're going to have to ballpark some things here, all right? That's just unfortunate reality. But one thing that we can do is we can get the width of the bottom, okay? So I want you to get your calipers. And I want you to get, so here's the width of the overall bottom, right? I don't want that. I want the width of the middle. And it is a little bit narrower. Okay, not much narrower. Like maybe a millimeter narrower. But make sure you're getting only the very, very bottom. If you look at these tabs, you know, at the very bottom, they're like square. And then they start to angle out. Don't grab that angled out part, okay? I want you to get just the very, very bottom. I'm getting like 17, something like that. Okay? Sound good? Yes, say yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah? All right. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to draw using the line tool. What tool am I using?
Line tool.
Line tool. I'm going to draw from this corner right here. Now, that's this corner. Okay, put it at an angle just so you understand. That's like where this inner part is. I'm going to do it from that corner right there. I'm going to draw a line out. I guess I should actually use the line tool. Here, line tool. From this corner, right there. If you cannot select that corner, like if it's not selectable for whatever reason, okay, like it's not snapping to this edge, right? If that is the case, you can always use the project button. And if you click on that project button, then you can click on that corner or this edge or whatever, and you can project it. So actually, I'm going to click on project, and I'm going to select, you can select like this whole region. At least it was letting you select it. Now it's not. Now it's just being a butt. Whatever. Well, I'm just going to select on this edge then. So I'm projecting this edge and this edge here. Okay. This edge right here. Maybe I'll have to do this one. Oh, well. Not a big deal. Point being, though, you need to make sure that you have, like, something that you can draw from. All right? So I'll show what I did again. I'm using project. There's multiple things that you could project. I'm going to project this edge right here. Okay. And if I do that, I then have this ability to connect to this point. You could have projected this edge right here. Okay, that would have worked as well. I'm choosing not to do that. I'm going to go with this one. And I'm able to draw a line straight up like this. Now, I want to point something out here as a little minor detail. Okay, so I drew that line right there. Is that line horizontal or vertical?
Oh.
So matter of perspective, right? But it's really not. So you got to make sure that you pay attention here. The standard orientation is X and Y being in this horizontal plane and Z going up and down. And that sketch is in the, if you look here, the XZ, or sorry, the YZ plane. And Z then would be considered vertical and Y would be considered horizontal. And also if I hover over the line, you can see that constraint there is a vertical constraint. Turning it does not make it horizontal. So if I turn it like this, it's still a vertical constraint. Okay, you can still see that vertical constraint line. Are we clear on this? Yes, say yeah. You got to be mindful of that. So just be careful. And then I actually can do the same thing on the other side. If I wanted to, I could draw it over there, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to. We're going to use a mirror. So I want to dimension from here, watch carefully, to the midpoint. Okay? I'm going to dimension from the tip of this line to the midpoint. And you may recall that the overall width was 17, right? Yes, yeah, yeah? So this should be half of that. Yes, yeah, yeah? What's half of 17?
8.5.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're able to do that math. I am. But you shouldn't. And the reason why is, what if you do the math wrong, right? So you can actually type math in here. Watch. I can type 17 slash 2. That's computer symbols for divide, right? Yes, yeah, yeah. And I hit enter. And it'll calculate what 17 divided by 2 is. That makes sense? Yes? Yeah? So I know that from here to the corresponding edge on the other side down here at 17, I don't feel like drawing the other side because I'm just going to mirror it. Why do twice the work if I don't have to? But I still have that dimension that's the entire width. So I took half of it and divided by 2. 17 divided by 2. Okay? Now, I got to go up some. Okay? Notice the constraint automatically being applied. Technically, it's a horizontal constraint, but depending on your orientation, you might think about it going up. All right? And then it angles out a little bit. Yeah? Kind of angles out. And then it goes down. All right? And then it goes out some more. Let's just stop with that, though. Okay, let's just stop with that. Trust. So I've used a project to project like this edge, just so that I could snap to that corner. I drew a line that was perfectly straight, using a vertical constraint. Then I drew another line that's perfectly horizontal, and then I kind of did this triangular thing. An astute observer might notice that there's a little bit of a flat part right here at the top, and you can draw that if you want, but I'm not going to. Okay? And I need to get the dimension of this part right here. Seems to be about 5. So I'm going to dimension that. That's about 5. The width of this seems to be about 4. Let me show that dimensioning again, just so we are all on the same page. I did not dimension the length of this slope. I'll tell you what I didn't do. I didn't do what's referred to as an aligned dimension. Watch carefully. That's an aligned dimension. See how it's aligned with the angled line. But if I keep going up and up and up and up enough, or if I move my cursor, okay, correctly while doing it, it's not letting me. That's okay. If you do the dimension tool and you click these points, that's what I did originally. So if I dimension from that point to this point, I can do a line if I kind of hover close to it. But if I go up a lot, it realizes I want to do a horizontal dimension. And then if I were to actually go over a lot, it would realize I want to do a vertical dimension. I want to do a horizontal one. Okay, and I'm going to keep it at 4. But I do need to figure out that height. And this is a little bit of a ballparky thing. You're not going to probably get it perfect. There's different tips and tricks you can do. I'm thinking maybe a 1. Let's try a 1. See what that looks like. That's not too bad. Another pro tip here. When you're trying to dimension stuff and it's giving you all these options, right? Like I have the aligned option. I have this horizontal option. I guess I got to do the points again. There. I got that option. I got that option. I got the aligned option. Pro tip. Get it to be like this first. Don't worry about where the number is being placed. Just get it to dimension the correct thing. Hit an enter. And then you can go and move that dimension wherever you want. Once you've dimensioned something, it will not change what you physically dimensioned, only where the number is displayed. Okay? And that allowed me to move that number. Questions thus far? Okay, this one is also a 1. Or at least it's close enough to 1. So I got my triangle drawn. Let me angle this a little bit. So you can kind of see what I drew there. It's kind of like sticks out from that edge, straight up, straight over. Then we got like a little triangle thing sticking up. Do we have any questions? Are we good so far? Those of you who are really following along. All right. Now the next thing that I got to draw is kind of, if you look at it very carefully, it kind of seems like it's almost at an angle. So I'm going to take a step back here for a little bit, and I'm going to draw a line. And when I draw it, I'm going to make really sure I don't have any automatically applied constraints. I don't want to accidentally apply perpendicular constraint or horizontal constraint. So I'm going to deliberately draw at an angle, maybe a more extreme an angle than it needs to be, but I can dimension it. Okay? You need to make sure that you are not automatically applying a constraint you don't actually want. So I kind of got it at an angle. And I'm going to just plop that right there. I'm going to go mess with dimensioning it later. One thing that I am noticing is that this line seems to end up here. It seems to be flush at the top. And if you're trying to draw the line, there's no snap to here. Well, that's the same issue we started down here, right? When we started drawing this, remember there was no snap to here. What I had to do is I had to project something to give it that snap to. And that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to click on the project. Okay. So here's the project button. And just as I projected this edge right here earlier to give me that like corner to snap to, I'm going to project this edge right here. Same thing. I'm going to project this edge so that I have this corner that I can reference. Okay? So when I draw this line, watch carefully. When I draw this line, notice if I tap this and then go up, I can get a snap to that vertically aligns it. Again, if you just do this, let me go from the beginning. Ooh, let me go from the beginning. If I go from like this, and I just immediately try to go to this spot. Oh my Lord. Why is this being so difficult? If I just go from here and I immediately go over here, no snap to. But if I just hover over this point and then go up, I get the snap to suddenly. Okay? If you already drew the line like this, okay, well, you can just go and you can apply a vertical constraint to this endpoint and this point here. Okay, either way, I want it to be angled. I don't want it to be locked into being like perpendicular or horizontal, but I do want this endpoint lined up with this here. And the only way I can interact with this here is if I use the project thing and project like this edge or something. Questions thus far? So the question is, how far down does it go? Or how far up does it come? That's a good question. I use my calipers, and it seems to be about an inch, not an inch, 1 millimeter from this top part. Okay? So I was able to dimension to this. Gives it a nice little angle there. And then I need the thickness of this thing at the top. And that thickness is around 1, a little more than 1, maybe 1.5. So I can draw a line. And I can make this 1 or 1.5, whatever you want it to be. And then looking in there, it seems to be just a straight shot. So I'm using this flashlight. I'm kind of like looking in there. And it seems to be mostly a straight shot. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to draw another line like this. And that line's perfectly horizontal. Yep, sound good? Yeah. And I'm going to get kind of down here. And I'm going to stop. And now what I need to do is I need to finish it off. So I'm going to go like that. So I have this little segment right here that kind of joins it. Because you can see, if you look there, it's definitely joined. It's not just hanging off in space. I got my mouse over this shape, and you can kind of see all the lines in orange that I drew. Most of them have vertical or horizontal or perpendicular constraints. This one does not. That's a truly angled line. Now, I don't know this for a fact. It's really hard to get in there and figure out. I might be able to maybe take this like thing that sticks out the bottom and try and jam it in there, but it doesn't seem to go in all the way. So you kind of have to do sort of a little bit of logic or inferencing. That the thickness up here is probably similar to the thickness down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dimension this distance. I'm going to make it another 1.5. Sound good? Yes or yeah? I made it match this right here. I'm going to say it's the same thickness. Questions? Okay, so now I'm done with this sketch. I'm going to call this the tab. Because it is kind of like a tab. You can squeeze these in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude it. I'm going to click on extrude. And I'm going to click on that thing. And I'm going to extrude it. But I want it to go both ways, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to check right here, symmetric. And symmetric makes it go both ways. We see that? It's going out here, and it's going this way. We see that? Yes, yeah. And now all I got to do is just measure the width of that overall thing. I'm getting about 13. So I just put 13 here. And you'll notice that it splits the difference. It makes it go halfway this way and halfway the other way. Sound good? Yes, say yeah? Yeah. Yeah? Maybe? Possibly? So there it is. Is that spiffy or what?
Okay.
I got two more things I need to do. The first thing is I want to get rid of my section view. I want to be able to see the whole shape again, right? Yes, say yeah. The section view does not appear over here in this. Okay? Doesn't appear over here. But if you remember where the section view was, you can right-click on the plane you originally placed it, and you can turn it off. And I did remember it was the right plane, so I could edit the section view if I wanted to change it somehow. I could also right-click here, and I could turn it off, which is what I just did. If, however, you completely forget where you did your section view. And this happens all the time. I'm like, dude, I don't know what plane I clicked on when I do it, and now I'm stuck with it, and I don't know how to turn it off. Right here is the camera and render options, and if you go to that, there's turn off section view. You see that? And it'll turn off no matter where it is. Ta-da, problem solved. We're good? Yeah? Yeah. That looks pretty spiffy. It looks pretty close to reality there. So that's the first thing I need to do. What's the second thing I need to do? The last thing I need to do? Mirror. Yeah, I got to mirror it. So to mirror it, I want to make sure the plane I'm going to mirror it about is visible. Turns out that happens to be the top plane. Take care, ladies. Don't die out there. But that tab, I would want to mirror across this plane right here, which happens to be the plane called top. So I made that plane visible, and I made the other ones invisible for now. Click on those eyeballs. And now the mirroring is a very easy thing. So I'm going to rename this tab. And then I'm going to do the mirror. Here's the mirror feature. First thing, entities, the mirror. Okay? Now, let's do a little review here. What's the first thing I need to do before I start clicking on stuff? Let's see if we remember. Not a bad guess. Not a bad guess. We had this issue whenever we did patterns or mirrors of features.
You need to change it to
To what?
change it to features. Yeah, features.
Yeah. So right here it defaults to parts. And so I can mirror the entire thing. That's not helpful. So you got to change this to feature. I don't know why it defaults to part, but it does. And it says features the mirror. You can click on the feature here, but my recommendation, just click on it over here. That's what we named them, right? That's what we named them. So you can click on tab, and you'll notice it added that feature, and then the mirror plane is red because I had to select one. So I click on the word mirror plane to make it blue. Now whatever I click on is going to become a mirror plane, and I'm going to click on this plane right here. If you ever get this, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know exactly why this occurs sometimes, but not others. But if you ever do get this issue, and only if you get this issue, I would not do this if you don't get an issue. But if you get an issue like this where it poops on you and it gives you red or doesn't show a preview at all, click reapply features. I believe this is kind of the difference between new versus add if you were to do like an extrusion or something. But I don't really know for sure. So you ever get red, click reapply features, and now it is perfect. Beautiful. So we got our tabs there. Those of you who are ahead, if you want to try and make those little ridges and stuff and cut into it, good luck. I know how I would do it. It ain't easy. But if you want a little tip, I would use this plane that cuts it in half, and I would do a revolve and cut away stuff. But that's my tip. That's my only tip to you. All right? Otherwise, for our purposes, for our educational purposes, this is done. This is done. Okay? So I am done with this piece. I'm going to stop the stream now.